everybody? Welcome back to the Ember City. And we are here, right outside our beautiful train depot that we made just last episode. And now it is time that we get back into the swing of things. Because I really love how our city is coming together. And it's time that we talk about kind of some more intimate concepts. Specifically, the concepts of taking up space and perspective. Because I feel that I designed this city from the perspective of walking on the streets itself. And yet I find myself constantly going into these aerial views to get a feel for how much progress we made. And while that's fine and dandy, while from an aerial perspective I notice something. And let's see if you can notice it too. Maybe not from here. What about over here? Okay, maybe not from here. Maybe over here. Okay, maybe not from here. What about final place? What do all of these locations have in common? While the entire city is filled with hundreds of thousands of blocks, and these buildings are all different shapes, colors, sizes, varying in from level to level to level with different intrigues and points of interest, the street is completely empty, and I think that is a crime. Not a real crime, not one to be arrested for, but one that should be absolved with justice. I think we need to bring some life to our build. Now you may be wondering, how do I plan on going about and doing that, and showing y'all exactly what I mean with making our streets feel alive? Hi, friend. Not to detract a little bit from the moment, but this guy has been living here for about 2 months, and I just can't. I can't not love him. Alright. Careful now. Careful now. Ooh. We have to be absolutely still. Oh, goodness. I'm making so much noise. Hi, little buddy. Ooh. Hi, little man. Hello. But what do we plan on doing? I want to make our streets feel like people walk them, live in them, exist with them, proliferate throughout them. And one of the things that I did a long time ago, whenever I was initially trying to come up with the concept and the design for the city itself, is I made these banners. And I also added these kind of concepts for rope designs that would kind of string between buildings. And while this city is kind of meant to feel a bit more industrial and heavy handed in making those components exist and proliferate, the design that we are engaging with is a much more traditional design, naturally. And so I want to actually grab one of these and see if we can bring our more humble beginnings to our upstart large city. Let's get started. some nice finishing touches on this part of the neighborhood. I really felt like it was missing some details and some depth that really set this neighborhood apart. This was probably the weakest feeling area of the city for a long time. But now that we're starting to kind of create some intrigue, some decorations, some human elements, I think it's really bringing some stuff together. We have some candles that they would have in the windows. They have some plant life that they're using for enrichment. We now have street signs with addresses, and I've decided that this will be the Cherry Lane or the Cherry District, just because of the distinct cherry color that comes with it. And I've also started incrementing the amount of city decorations as well, because I created this banner a long time ago when I first started this, but I decided that I really want to start integrating it, because this continuously, I think, will bring the city together. As you are in a non-district area, you'll transition through a non-city part to a non-city part to a different area that will be districted and decorated in a specific way. And I think that'll be really cool for just kind of tying the elements together. Specifically, so that we can start breaking up these sight lines that I think are a little bit more digestible now. The streets it's going to bring your eyes down instead of having your eyes raise up to the high buildings. It's going to be much more street level, which I think is cool. Very much what we're going for. And now that we've finished up this district, let's return to an older district and see if we can give it the exact same treatment. Not too shabby. I didn't want to put too many details in this area because this neighborhood already has a distinct amount of variance within it, and I didn't want to have any of those details overflowing into the streets itself, because I didn't think it actually added to the feeling. But I did do a few things. I moved this building back to add this building feeling like it's moving forward, to have some depth and some change, as long as it breaks up those natural lines. And I think it really achieves that effect. And I think this is all that's really needed to break up those airways, because you naturally are going to look down here while having these key ends as to feelings and ideas as well. So we have two areas covered, detailed, and starting to really feel used, lived in. But I think we need to start getting down to some meat and potatoes. The trick is, you have to make them think that you're one of them. One thing I wanted to actually do while we're ambering our city is I actually wanted to amber up our armor as well. Because while I enjoy this thoroughly, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I made it look like I have a belt. I have a little belt buckle right there. I also think that we should match the vibe of the city that we're going for. So I think most of this is ribbed, if I remember correctly. Rib, snout, and coast. Okay, so I was completely wrong. But I think that's what I want to do. I want to try and bring a rib, and then we'll double our snout and our coast. So I think that's diamonds in the material it's made out of. Yeah, I believe that's correct. Which, honestly, I think this is such a cool system, because I have been noticing that I'm like, I have a bunch of diamonds that I have no use for in these later stages of the game, other than maybe supporting beacons. But having an actual use case for them in these later stages is really, really fun for me. I get to come back to... I don't know if it's that. Yeah, that one's that. But which one are you requiring? But I'm really glad that I have a reason to use my diamonds for something other than just being diamonds. Black stone, not deep slate. That's goofy. You're goofy. I can't remember if this one's stone or not, so we'll grab a little bit of both. And then black stone is in here. Aha! There we go. That's both of them. cobblestone for the coast, blackstone for the snout. We can put our copies back away. Beautiful. We can put our diamonds away. Get ourselves squared away. Nope, wrong chest. And then now, I think we bring that amber glow to our aesthetic. First up, rib. Then snout. And then coast. Ooh-wee! Just a little bit of orange, just a little bit of amber in the city. And I think that looks super snazzy. I like that a lot. Now we can get back to business. I'd actually like to take some inspiration from this area right here. We have a individual market set up for specifically selling moss and moss-like things, but it has these kind of hung in lines to keep it look like it's proportioned up and propped up. And I think that's cool, and I think I want to reuse that design right over here. Because right here, we have some unused space that I would really like to fill out. And what I'm thinking that I want to do to fill it out is to incorporate a concept of a market. Because individually, if you've ever seen that clip of Zootopia where the hamsters are, maybe they're not hamsters, I don't think they're hamsters, but they're waddling out of their office and the fox is giving them popsicles. I think that concept makes a lot of sense, that you would have an entire market set out right outside one of the greatest depots of hard workers. So you would have some variants of tents and pop-up shops to some degree. It's a little disorderly because it's right in front of these higher end houses, but my thought process is that they see it less as predatory and more as a market area. And having a market right outside your house is a lot more interesting than having some weaseling, conniving concepts. But that's enough rambling. Let's get these cranked out real quick. And voila. We got some decorations up. We got some vibes, some feelings proliferating throughout the build. And I think that's really cool. Now, this is very much inspired by real life. This is something that I personally have been really enjoying lately, which is going to marketplaces and going to weekend markets and stuff like that. And they very much do these kind of setup and tear down tint style settings where they're not permanent locations, but they have really cool things for sale. And I thought that would be really awesome. Like, we have a candle vendor, somebody who would make candles. We have a griller or somebody who's producing food in the morning. We have a kind of an odd plant seller selling something that's a bit different. I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I just like the way it looked. And then over here, this one is very much where I started dipping into my own personal experiences. This is a chime seller, somebody who makes chimes. And I thought that was really cool. And then over here, I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm going to make some dyed leather clothes, and we're going to have like a little clothes stand, kind of like a bin, something like that. And then it wouldn't be fair if you didn't have somebody selling natural honey. Like that's just necessary. I think this is required, and I think that really starts to color open the streets, adding some flair, adding some life, and I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of what life it brings to this little space that's meant to be kind of like a dark, dank area. Just a little bit of flavor and color. But now, we actually have one other thing that I think I'd like to get done today, and that is this area right here. Because I actually have been quite busy. I have been quite busy terraforming the outside of our city, making it look actually like a city on a hill. And while I very much love that feeling, that idea, that concept, I need a little bit of assistance because this is one of the few remaining areas that is completely open to the air. It is uncityified. And I think I actually have an idea for how we're going to get that on board. I think what we need right here, right by our city depot, by our train depot, the thing that was required is a clock tower. Something that gets our trains going, everything moving on time, our employees know what time it is to leave, it's time to go. I think that's exactly what we need. Now, I'm not making Big Ben. That would be stupid. That would be dumb. So I'm making Little Jeremy. No, I'm joking. But I do want to find a way to incorporate a clock tower right here, and then I'm going to finally have a way to finish terraforming this side of the mountain. Because this is the last side. This is the last side I have that requires work, and then we can actually get around to the boring part. Or I can get around to the boring part. I probably will not show that on camera. But one thing I really need to do is get to the factory, to the center of our city, the thing that breathes life into the economy, the reason why we're all here. But not yet. First, we need a clock tower. Ooh, that's not too shabby. I love that. We've got ourselves a clock tower. Now, right at the end of this lovely street. And I think that really ties it together because this was the last component of our city that was left to the elements, that was out to the mountain range. And while I think that would have a cool effect, I very much prefer, while the people are in the city, to feel like they're in the city itself. And I think that we have got that cornered off. And I am very, very happy with how this turned out. But that is not everything. No, no. Because I have lots of work to do. Work that is not fun to see, is not fun to watch, and is boring. I have to gather a lot of materials, do some planning, and premeditate on some concepts and builds, and some theming and tones. And while part of that may be interesting, most of it is not. And so I want to leave this off having really accepted that we've grabbed the tone of the people, the marketplace, the workers, the population of this city being firmly established so that now we can juxtaposition it. Juxtaposition it? I don't think I've ever said that word that way. Juxtapose it against a centerpiece. Because I have laid out this city in a very particular way where I want the thing of our attention to be right there. And I can't wait to show it to y'all next time in the Amber City. Bye bye. Take care.